Hello, folks. Welcome back to the to the your constitutional truths and consequences. We just had a glitch, which has never occurred on our programming that I'm aware of. But the Godfather said he, in fact, has had that happen. And as they're doing computer updates out in California, someone just pulls a piece out and sticks another piece back in, and it's shut us down. So we're not going to do the intro or anything, but as much as I would love to, by the way. But Margaret, we were talking about your Margaret Ida Helps, you being the Jill of all trades. So let's pick it up from there. So what is it that you're doing, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I was in a position where I was helping out with my mother's last days. So I was not able to really take a full time position in a place I was not knowing I'd stay long. And since throughout my life, I have learned how to do an awful lot of different things. Um, I said, well, anybody around the condo here that I can help out, uh, just pay me a little bit of money for doing something, and I'll be a helper. So that's Margaret Ida Helps. My
There you
sister
go.
was with us too, and she always referred to me as Margaret Ida because my aunt was Margaret. So my mother would confuse us sometimes on the phone. So she'd say, "This is Margaret Ida." So it became Margaret Ida Helps. And what I did, oh my goodness, almost anything. I would do anything in terms of gardening, uh, home repairs. I did a ceiling repair for a lady. I did um, some like support of a family gathering from the kitchen sort of thing one time. I did house cleaning. Um, I did repairs and assembly for an office, a doctor's office someplace one time. And it was just, almost anything that you needed some help with, Margaret Ida can probably help. And so I would go and do some help. And it would, when I did it before I went out there, I was for a few months, I did it in Utah for about $20 an hour. And when I went out to New York, I charged 25 because they have more money out there. And everybody was really happy with the work I did and the price. And so I made enough money to help support myself while I was um, and pay some bills while I was staying there and helping care for my mom.
Wow. That's the thing is I think we grow skills um and with the talents that we are naturally God given with, we grow, we acquire skills and we put them in our toolbox. I call my brain personally the toolbox. And when you do that, and it not only do you know deep down inside that you're helping someone else, but I think that it also helps you become a better person inside because you're doing for those that can't do for themselves for the moment and they need you.
Well, yes, and it gives you a real sense of competence and of self sufficiency, that self reliance, that you don't have to depend on other people all the time. I didn't mention the sewing that I do, which is a more feminine thing, but there's a
Oh no 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 no!
I've done
I love this. Oh no no! I love to sell. I do. I have a singer confident. So
wonderful.
yeah, yeah. I don't mind. I don't
Some
mind.
of
I
my
never had.
boys learned to sew too. That was one of the things that was fun, was that my boys learned to sew and to cook because that was who I had to teach. I didn't have girls to separate things out into. So we did a
Right.
little bit of everything. And as I came up through my life, I learned to do, oh my gosh, I we could go forever with all the different things that I have been involved in. And you don't want to do that. We want to get onto some more constitutional things, I expect.
Yes, and that's just what I was going to say. But I could definitely say that I would say your life has hardly been, as you put it here, and I'm just paraphrasing and giving it my own little spin, but your life has been anything but a hobby. It's just been a living experience. So, what
True.
I would like you to elaborate. You and I had met, and you're working with some pretty big. I'm going to say pretty big batting home run hitters, Paul Venable being one. You and I spoke about him briefly. Tell us about the Patriot Academy and what we can expect to achieve with the patriotacademy.com.
Oh, wow. My husband uh, was a retired social studies civics teacher, and he always kept in track of what was going on in the world. And when he passed away, I realized I wasn't hearing very much about what was going on in the world because I wasn't doing it. He kept reporting to me all the time and keeping me up. So I started looking for some of it and listening to it, and I came across a program called Biblical Citizenship in Modern America. And I started listening to it because it sounded like somebody that was interested in current events. And as soon as I got going with it, one of the things that really drew me to the course was a quotation they gave us early on that said, it was from John Adams, "Our Constitution was made for a religious and a moral people. It's wholly inadequate for the government of any other." And my sense being that, very involved in my church activities, what we need to do is encourage people to be more righteous people. And this is going to make us a safer and a better country. We can save our country by being righteous people. And this class that they were teaching was about knowing the Constitution and being prepared to stand for your rights. And they were inviting us to be coaches and help other people learn about the Constitution too. And right at the same time, right within a few weeks, one of our church leaders spoke about the importance of sustaining the God-inspired Constitution in this country. And I decided that getting involved as a Constitution coach was what I needed to do. So at that time, I started doing the Constitution coaching program that they had. And there were, I think it was exciting to be one of a few hundred people that were already signed up. And since then, they've gone up to over 4,000 coaches in this country. And now you realize that was after my husband died, so it was less than 3 years ago. And they've been encouraging people to sign up as coaches and to run this program. The easy part of the program is that Rick Green, some of you people may know Rick Green, and Dave Barton, whom even more may have heard of, produced this video series that teaches about the Constitution and American history. And all I have to do as a coach is to push the button and let everybody watch and be absolutely astounded by all the things that we didn't know about American history and the Constitution. And then we talk about how we can get involved in being part of it. And my encouragement is, if you can do nothing else, just be a better person. And that will help you contribute to our society, who just so much needs better people. Another quotation that I love from the Patriot Academy people is one that they use frequently, came from John Jay, and it says, "Every member of the state ought to diligently read and study the Constitution of his country and teach the rising generation to be free. And this is what the Patriotic Academy is all about, teaching the rising generation to be free. By knowing their rights, he said, they will sooner perceive when they are being violated and will be the better prepared to assert and defend them. So that's what Patriot Academy was set up to help young people get more involved in civics and constitutional governing. And so I was really excited to get going and start talking with people. I don't have a lot of contacts among young people, but the Patriot Academy is big on that, and they have some wonderful programs, leadership conference they call it now, in which they have practice sessions, you might say, for young people from 16 to 24, and they're invited to come together and practice being legislators. They prepare bills. They actually go to a capital, to a state capital, and they have several of them around the country that they use on different places, different parts of the year. And they go to the state capitals. They use the equipment, the facilities there, so that they can actually have the feeling of being there and doing. They do committee meetings, they do bills, they do arguments, and go around and invite one another to vote for their bills. And it's a great experience for them to learn how to be part of the system. Rick Green has been doing this for, I'm not sure how long, 15, 20 years maybe. And he has a lot of graduates that are now in government offices, which is exciting to see them moving forward and have these young people getting in there and starting to be active. Most recently, this leadership conference has also been including veterans who get to come in and be senators while the young people are being representatives, and they're all learning how to engage and be part of the civic process. So it seems to me like a fantastic program. Rick is setting up a campus in Texas where they're going to be able to do more of this for longer term. So it will not be just a 1 week or 3-day event, but a longer term internship sort of thing at his campus. If you go to patriot.academy.com, you can learn so much more about it than I know. But it's an exciting program. It's really wonderful.
Well, that's the whole premise when you and I met on, and again, I can't begin to thank you enough to have been at that school board meeting, because just meeting you and speaking with you briefly was extremely encouraging. And I think that that's something that you were talking about, we need to be more righteous in our daily lives. But part of that is, of course, encouraging people. And you gave me personally an extraordinarily great feeling of encouragement. And I don't even believe you really, I know you knew kind of what I wanted to do here on the Common Denominator Network and what I was hoping to do here. Tell us a little bit more, because this is what I was really interested in when you and I started having telephone dialogue, phone calls amongst ourselves. If you would, tell us a little bit about the program itself. It's not really a long program, correct?
No, the original show group that they put together was called Constitution Alive. And there are 2 versions of that. 6-week shorter version and the 10-week original version. It's something that you have like an hour and a half of video stuff, and then you can have, and then you have time to visit and discuss what it was that was covered in the videos. And they talk about the Constitution. He calls it a quick start guide to the Constitution. And so he talks about where they came from and what they were intending to do, what its purpose was, a little bit about each of the three branches of government and the amendments, the Bill of Rights, and the process, and the duty of citizens is where they end, which is what I was doing when I went to the school board meeting. Just go to a meeting and see what's happening. For goodness sake, at least see what's happening, you know? And then you start saying, well, maybe I could help out with something there. You know, even at this, after the school board meeting, I came up with an idea about how to handle a controversial and contentious subject in our community regarding book approvals in the school library. And so I thought it through and I wrote something up and I sent it in to the school board to offer them what my suggestions for how to solve this in a way that will be okay with people that still want to have those books around and will be okay with people that want them restricted from their kids. And so when you go someplace and find problems, you can start doing something. But if you don't go there and hear about it, then you don't even know what the problem is, you know? So
Correct.
after they started with Constitution Alive, they did another version of it, which uses a lot of the same instructional material, but it's called, let's see if I can get that up so you can see it, Biblical Citizenship in Modern America. And it is reminding those of us that are in the religious community that it was the pastors of early America that actually supported and sustained and got this this independence on fire and helped make it happen. People today that say, oh, we can't be in politics, are not realizing that we're not talking about politics, which is party affiliations. We're talking about civics. We're talking about being involved in your community, which, sorry, that's my dog, which Jesus told us we should do.
Right. Is that now, if I'm not mistaken,
we should be engaged in our community. And so biblical citizenship talks about the biblical background for all of the things that came up in the Constitution.
I was going to say, is that a Wawa?
Beth, come here. She's a combination Australian Shepherd and
Don't Mess With Me. Australian Shepherd and Don't Mess With Me.
Another shepherd dog, and I can't remember the name for it at the moment. It's just gone because I'm thinking of other things.
Of course.
She's a gorgeous dog.
She sounds like she's very hardy too.
When somebody comes around, she lets me know. And biblical citizenship is in a modern America is an 8-week course, the same kind of way that it has videos you can show and then discuss. And it's basically it's focused on, has a First Amendment focus to it with a lot on religious freedom. There's another version that I haven't done myself. It's called Constitutional Defense, and there's focuses with the Second Amendment more on self on self-preservation, on self-defense, and why this the founders found that was really important. More recently, because many of us find it's difficult to get people to say commit to that long of a thing, they've come up with a really shortened version they call the lunch break version of biblical citizenship, which is 5 45-minute sessions. So if you have a long lunch break, you can do a session every day for a week, and you're through the course. And by then you want to see the big course, because there's an awful lot you miss, but with the short one, but it covers the basics. And the other thing that I've found really is exciting to try to get going with is that they have partnered with Kirk Cameron, who has a American Campfire Revival series, and he works with this book, The American Covenant. And this is like a book club.
Okay.
They have like 15-minute segments that then you can go through and use the questions that are at the end of each chapter here to make a book club opportunity. Takes about 10 weeks to go through that course or that class group, or you can put them together and make it shorter if you want to. But you read the book, you read the lessons, and you discuss the concepts. And the concepts are all based around the principle of the covenant that the early Americans, early forefathers made with God to settle this country and to establish the principles upon which the Constitution was written and the Declaration was made.
So the first book was
that's a quick overview of the quick start version of the Constitution.
So let me get this right. We've got the biblical citizenship, the American Covenant, and the constitutional defense are recommended books by yourself that we should probably look into, correct?
The two books that I showed you on the constitutional defense and Constitution Alive are workbooks that go along with the video class. They're not standalone books. The American Covenant is a book that you can read and is based on. It's by Marshall Foster. I think there are some other books that are called The American Covenant with another subtitle. This one is The American Covenant, The Untold Story, and it's Marshall Foster was the author on that one.
Okay,
that is a book. The other two I held up were workbooks that go along with the video courses. And when you do those classes, generally, you sign up and we stream them together and visit and see them. And then you can have digital access to the workbook for free. Or you can purchase a paper one if you want to. That just depends on if you want a paper one, but you can get into the thing about these classes that I love is that they want people to get them so bad, they're available for nothing.
wow.
It doesn't cost anything to register for these classes, and it doesn't cost anything once you've registered to get into the workbook. You can get into it digitally for nothing. It's just if you want a paper one, it costs about $20.
Right on. Right on. I'm actually trying to type this in because I really want to be able to let people come back and review, and I do believe they will review the material here that we're presenting, because obviously there's a lot of people that don't even have a clue about this program yet. And again, I'm so happy that you have come here to share this, by the way, with us. So, thank you, Margaret. You were mentioning Rick Green and John Bart. What was it, Barton? I'm sorry,
Dave
Rick-
David Barton, David Barton of Wall Builders.
Wall builders. Okay, okay. See, this is the thing: is we just don't have. And I'm going to say it. I would say that you would never have wasted. We don't want to waste our last moments of time here without trying to, again, educate and inform people. So we really do want those shortcuts, in this case, of material for people to consider picking up on their own, and really wanting to, for lack of better phraseology, and, to grow and become better citizens. Like you were saying, civics. I've been saying this for several years now. We don't have civics courses in classrooms anymore. The kids don't have an idea of basically the rights and wrongs of how to see a situation, the problem, and then work out and find an answer and or a solution. Everyone can see the problem. Everyone can say, "Oh, this is a problem." The thing is, what do you do about that problem? You know, and so to have met you and thought, yeah, and I knew, and I'm going to say it like this: I knew you didn't have any children in school in this latter part of life that we're at, but I knew you might have had an interest in your grandchildren. And I'm sure you do with the grandkids these days with what they're learning or not learning. Correct?
Yes, some of my grandkids are already out of school, but I have some that are still coming along through it. And in fact, one of my kids, after the COVID debacle, realized that his daughter, who was, I think, 8 at the time, didn't know how to read yet. She really didn't know how to identify even the letters from her public school education. And they were
Wow.
having them in and out of school because of COVID stuff still going along. And he said, forget this. She's going to come home and I'm going to teach her at my house and she's going to be homeschooled. And he and his wife have gotten very involved in this and are having a wonderful time teaching their kids. She has a little sister now that's coming along and doing their homeschooling so that they can actually learn things. I tell you, when I was in school, they taught us how to think. They didn't try to teach us what to think. At least that's the way I felt about it. And when I listen to what's being said and how people are taught these days, it really bothers me because that's what they're doing. They're telling them this is the right thing, this is true, and you've got to know this. And they're not telling them to examine it and see if there might be another way to handle it or if that might be accurate or not. I don't think they learn how to look up the answers that everybody wants them to say. But if you say something that they don't want them to say, they don't want you to say, then you get a bad grade. It's not because you didn't look it up and you didn't think about it. It's because you didn't say the thing they wanted to hear.
Right.
And that's bad. That is not teaching people to think and to be contributing citizens in our community.
I had on Monday, again, the debut for this program, and I kind of tagged it on my hour, which I wanted you to be on. And again, I thank you so much for finding the time, Margaret. I do know, for a young 76, you're a very busy person. And that's the thing is I see friends of mine around me pushing 70, and I'm saying this with much respect to my friends, but they're slowing down because they don't have anything that drives them. They don't feel like they've got that purpose to drive anymore other than, well, I'm going to pick up my grandbabies and take them out to Dairy Queen this weekend. But they don't get really actively involved in their lives. And that's why I tell them you need to become a little bit more actively involved to keep yourself young at heart, to keep your mind younger and fresher, to be aware of the things that they're, like you're saying in school, they're teaching them what to think, not how to think, but to be aware that they're being sculpted in such a way that you can step in and say, no, you need to think of it on your own. You need to come up with solutions sometimes on your own, because mommy and daddy ain't going to be there in a couple of years, or grandmom or grandpa, so on and so forth. We all got to go. I'm going to take a moment just to throw this up here from our guest that I had the other evening. It was G.R. Mobley. I will tell you, he was on Monday in the afternoon. He's a talk show host personality of the Red State radio station out of Spokane, Washington. And he came on and it was typical. It was so typical. It was wonderful because I actually was on the screen the whole time. Not that that was so wonderful. You could get some good shots for your dock board, but no, he stayed in the background like a lot of radio personalities do. They're just not, they don't present themselves visually. And, that man really gave us a lot of good information. That's why I'm tossing this up there and giving him a shout out saying, thank you for taking that time, GR. And if you had that moment, Margaret, I'm sure if you plug in and look it up, and I know you can look it up on the internet, you're a very sharp lady. I think you would really enjoy listening to this guy because he is so much like the great one, Mark Levine from the Fox News Channel. That's one program I try to watch weekly. I do like Mark Levine. So I just want to throw that out there real quick and just say, hey, GR, thank you so much. And we're going to just come back and bounce this right back to you. So with the Patriot Academy, if I'm not mistaken, you said it was a 10-week, 2-hour Monday course, correct?
Well, they run a national version of it on Mondays. I think they're not doing them all back to back now. There's one that's almost ending. But what it is that a coach like myself will plan, make an arrangement with somebody to have a group, whether it's your group in your house or it's a whole church group or whatever, some senior citizen fan group. And the coach then starts goes over and shows the videos and encourages, moderates the discussion afterwards, maybe whatever you want to do with it. And so you can set this up at any time that's convenient for people that want to know more about the Constitution. So you can, it can be any kind of age group. I've done some with homeschool groups that are probably middle school and up, and some that were older people that were interested in knowing more about it. And I've had 3 people in a group. I've had 14. I've had 25. Some of the coaches will have hundreds of people that come to groups to see these things in church facilities. If you go to patriotacademy.com and ask where are they having classes, you can find any time of the year, any day of the week, practically, somebody that's holding a class. And there will be somebody not too far from where you live that will be holding a class that you can join. So it's the idea is not so everybody has to come at a specific time anywhere, but that the coaches will go out and do this as often as anybody wants to do them in the local communities, so that it's really getting out to the entire country. So thousands
Good.
and thousands of people are getting educated about the Constitution.
What does the I mean, I'm just going to throw this. I know, I know in this short dialogue that we've had, I do know that God is an ever-present part of your life. I don't think that's even an understatement. I think that that's really nailing your faith. But what does the Constitution mean to you, and how? Well, let's go with that first. What does the Constitution truly mean to you? Besides your faith in God, what does that mean to you as an American citizen?
We believe that the people that set the Constitution up, that wrote it, were inspired of God to come up with the plan that they wrote in the Constitution. So it's our responsibility to sustain it as it was presented and created under the direction of the Holy Spirit. I think it's interesting because whenever I look at a problem, I can say one thing is a problem in the public, the constitutional questions, things that are going on. Is this way of handling it constitutional? And is it included in one of the things that the Constitution says the government should do? And is this Christian? Is this the way that Christ would teach us to handle things? And I think that you will find that anytime something is handled in a constitutional way, it's being handled in a Christian way. And any time it's being handled in a Christian way, it's being handled in a constitutional way. I think that they intermingle and they work together perfectly. Whether you're Christian or any other denomination, any other religious background, I think you'll find that that the basic morals are the same. We all believe in not killing and not stealing and all the things that are 10 commandments, in loving and serving and caring for other people. And that people should be doing that by their own agency and their own will because they want to. And that's what religion teaches us.
Correct. The moral fiber.
To do it because that's the kind of people we are.
Yep.
And so it doesn't matter whether you say it's Christian or you say that it belongs to a moral background of some kind, that the Constitution is there to give us the opportunity to do those things and to protect our opportunities to do them, not to force us to do it, right? And the thing about the Constitution that I think we need to always remember is that it is intended to limit the government and the power of the government. It's basically, we need to get together to protect ourselves, protect our country, our location, and to protect our rights that God gave us. And that's why we have a government. But not to be told what to do. The government is just for the purpose of protecting and the rights and the safety of its people. Our preamble, the preamble to the Constitution basically says that, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
It says to form a more perfect union so we can work together. That sounds kind of Christian, doesn't it?
Yeah,
to work together, to establish justice, to ensure domestic tranquility. Here we are trying to keep the peace again. Yeah. To provide for the common defense so that the bad guys don't come in and beat up on us. To promote general welfare so that everybody can work on their own welfare generally, not to provide for individuals, and to secure the blessings of liberty, which is just what that is, the opportunity to express yourself, to do your live according to your conscience. And that's what liberty is. You know,
Yeah.
it's not license, it's responsibility. And all of these things are why we have a constitution, not to tell us how to live. That's what we do. They just give us the chance to be able to live the way we believe is a right way to live. And whichever person wants to worship in whatever way, that's up to them. The government's not to tell them what they may or may not say or do. And that's the thing that we need to remember. And if you read, if people will read the Constitution and see what are the things the government's allowed to be part of, and what are the things that are not included as part of their responsibilities, they should get up in arms about some of the government regulations and three-letter agencies and so on that are out there that are not part of the Constitution. And then we need so that we can actually live our lives without interference. And that's what the Constitution's about, in my mind.
Well, I think you helped me. Thank you, Margaret. I think you helped me put together a piece that I've always heard, and then with the rest. So here we go. The Constitution is a living and breathing document guided by the counsel of morality through God. Does that about sound right?
Yes, it was based on moral principles. And the thing that's extraordinary about this nation, as different from any other nation in the world, is that it's based on the idea that God gave rights to men, and men extend permission to the government to secure and maintain those rights. The government does not give rights. The government protects rights. And this country says God is the one that gave rights. And most countries say the government is the one that decides what you have a right to do or not. And that's what's extraordinary about America.
And the republic from tyranny.
And when we kick God out of the government, then we don't have the protections, because he's the one that told us, you've got to be there. You've got to have these rights. And when they kick God out and don't consult him, then they don't have the guidance that's going to help them find the right answer that will work for everybody. I'm so grateful to hear our new Speaker of the House referring to God and his faith in his counsel. When we hear him speak and say, "This is we have to consult with the principles, Christian principles," then we know we're on the right path. Because we don't always live by them doesn't mean that it's not the right path. It's the right path if we'll just live by them. But so we make mistakes, let's fix them. And that's what is living and breathing about the Constitution, is that as things change in our society, we can readjust to how it's written and what we do about things that come up that they didn't ever had in the Founding Fathers' days. But there's this already in the Constitution set up a way that we can do that. That's why it's still living today, is because it's possible to say, oh, well, that didn't work so good. Maybe we should change that. And that was set up. It's Article 5 of the Constitution gives us the option to change things that aren't working so good. But we can't do it without listening to spiritual guidance.
I agree with you 100%.
That's what makes our country great.
Yes. And I didn't get to say this earlier, Crystal. I am so glad that you have a new building. Crystal is an entrepreneur, her and her husband. They have a lot of, they have a lot of children between them, and they've been struggling. And now they've got a new building. This is probably, about an hour or two late there. I'm looking at the time, close to it, a little over an hour, I think, 20 minutes. But congratulations, Crystal. I mean that. I wish you and Mike a lot of success. Margaret, I'd like to wind this down a little bit because, like I said, I wanted America to meet, and I want just a little latitude, please. I wanted America to meet my Aunt B from Andy Griffin. Because you seem to be the type of aunt I would have just, I mean, you remind me so much of one of my aunts. And I want to ask you just this in closing. If you could say anything right now, anything in reference to what this means to you, the patriotacademy.com, because obviously your accomplishments are much greater. Like I said, nursing, you've got, you finish up high school, you had music and radio and TV production, you had nursing, you had health and human services. Yeah. I mean, you really had an incredible life, but what is it that you would like to really, I mean, now that you're affiliated with the patriotacademy.com, what would you say to America right now? What do we need to do? What do you think that we should do more than anything at this moment in time?
Engage. We need to, all of us, engage in our community. And whether it's being active in your church or active in your school board or park board or library, any, or just I say just any of the service organizations in your community, DAR, veterans programs. There's VFW and American Legion and all kinds of things that are service organizations for people to get involved in and doing things. We just need to engage. And the more people engage in things that will reach out to others, they become more aware of what a wonderful, absolutely amazing country we live in, how much we can do on an individual basis, because that's where the country came from. We engaged with the people in our community. Many years ago, my great-great-grandmother was in a position where she couldn't take care of her children over the winter after her husband had died, and the kids were all farmed out to different members of the community. And when she was able to pull them together, and she gathered the kids again, and she and her new husband went out west. My grandmother was ill at that time, so she stayed with the family that she was staying with and eventually was adopted by them. But you see what happened? The government didn't take care of them. The community took care of them. And I think that we need to get engaged in our community helping agencies and be part of what's happening locally. Expect people to help each other, not expect the government to do it all. Because all the
Correct.
government does is take money from somebody else and then give it, they do the distribution. It's not people caring for each other. And that's not a good thing. We need to have people caring for each other. And I think that's the most important thing that anybody can do in this day and age, is to care for others, reach out and be part of the caring community.
Wow. You know, you've nailed it as far as the having that compassion. And I think that that's what's lacking across the board, is a selfless compassion, that people are there. I'm not saying they're self-absorbed and everyone's self-absorbed or narcissistic and self-centered. It's just that it's become such a struggle, or seemingly it's become such a struggle, that people don't even take the time. Not, and I'm guilty, by the way, I'm guilty. I've got a little bit of property here, and having I've had some great guidance with friends of mine, Heath Gilbert being one of them, put on a great garden. And you know, when you can build your own or grow your own groceries, and you don't have to rely on the store, when you can maybe raise your own chickens or so on and so forth with your cattle or pigs, you know, that you provide for yourself, that you interchange that commerce. Someone's a chicken farmer, someone's a pig farmer, someone's a cattle farmer, someone grows these vegetables and those vegetables and these fruits and that fruits. And next, you know, you've got that community all sharing and giving and working together on basically surviving together. You know, again, to me, it's finding that common ground. And that's what I think we need to do. You use the word engage quite a lot. When I think of engage, it's like, pull the lever, press that button, fire away. No, it's actually to me, it's also being involved. It's just being involved and engaged in your community together. So, Margaret, I want to say thank you for taking your valuable time for which to express, again, what you feel it to be important, because we need to hear this from our elders. And I say that with much respect. I mean that. I say that with respect. And I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm hoping I'm going to have the wisdom when another 13 years from now, I'm going to hope to have the wisdom that you have, and stronger. And I thank you for being a part of my life and allowing me to, allowing yourself to find the time to come on here and share your thoughts with me and so many others that one day will, again, you know, say, wow, you know, she was a pretty cool little chickie, you know. At least I think you are. I think you're a very cool chickie. So thank you, Margaret.
Well, thank you. It has been the thoughts and the ideas that I keep coming up with every time some event comes into my consciousness, is brought to my attention. I keep hoping I'll find a way to get my thoughts out to people that need to hear them. And so this is a great opportunity for me to feel that I'm actually reaching out and sharing with people that want to hear and learn.
Well, ma'am, you've done a brilliant job. In fact, I think if I know my producers well enough, they're probably going to do a part 1, part 2. We're going to use that glitch to our advantage. Again, this has never happened to me. I mean, for a show to just come to a complete stop, that was it, done deal. It's like, wait a second. No. I ended, or they ended, we ended. And so for StreamYard to have done that, I actually kind of say thank you, because the first part, I believe in my mind, the way I'm seeing it right now of the day's events, is that it was to get to know who you were. And then all of a sudden to have that happen, and then you kicked right into sharing this plethora of information, these books, organizations. Again, words of encouragement. Margaret, again, I can't thank you enough. I hope you'll stay down in the studio. We'll be having hors d'oeuvres afterwards. Just kidding. And just give me a moment and I'll close down the show. Okay, ma'am?
Thank you.
God bless you, ma'am, and thank you again. Folks, I've got to tell you, I'm just so blessed to have some of the most wonderful people in my life. If it wasn't for, and I mean this, if ever I needed a time in doing this programming, if I ever needed a time, this was the week. I mean, between the Godfather and Chad, I was so blessed to have them both help me on so many levels. You folks don't even realize. In one way, yeah, I guess they're keeping this little clown on the air. Maybe, yeah, I'm a bit much sometimes to take on 2 hours straight at times. But seriously speaking, if it wasn't the collaboration, if it wasn't the working together, if it wasn't the mindful skill sets and the talents and the heartfelt saying, we really do believe and want to put something out there that no one else is doing. I mean, no one else has this, what I feel to be a very, and I've said this before on Vincent's Voices, besides the voices in my head, the people that I sometimes have on, that, it's nice to go and meet someone. You walk into a bar, you walk into a restaurant, and someone says, hey, come sit at my table, or hey, let's belly up to the bar and have a beer. And you can sit there and have conversation. And in this case, of course, I can't even begin to say I couldn't agree with Margaret on any level more than what I've just expressed. A wonderful little lady. I definitely hope that she'll maybe see me and talk to me again. But seriously speaking, to be able to belly up to the bar, have that conversation, if we agree to disagree, we can always find something. Believe it or not, we can always find something that can bring us together. There's always going to be something, but all you have to do is express it, let it out. Maybe take pause and listen. I didn't take pause earlier. I wanted to. I didn't know when it was. I could say to Crystal Marie, congratulations. And I do. I want that woman and her family to do well in business. That's what they know. That's what they do. But from the bottom of my heart, I say this to you all. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining us. That would be the Paramystic Broadcasting Channel, as well as a common denominator. Thank you for watching the. We've got major shows coming up soon that we're collaborating and working on a weekly basis soon. Spiritual stuff, and that's the thing. It's a spice of life. But we want to keep everything as good as we can, informative as we can. More than anything, get, again, people engaged. Good word, Margaret, by the way. Thank you. And involved in our local communities. We've got to do this one community at a time. From the bottom of my heart to all of you, thank you so much for being here. Take care, and we'll see you again real soon.